All right, you amazing people. I've got room to move. I've got a new TV to share information with you all. This is going to be so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me today as I have my very first New Year's live cast. This is going to be a culmination of a lot of things that I have been studying, that I've been attending, that people within my inner circle have really been pushing and challenging me for where am I at? What am I doing? How can I serve at that increasingly greater level? And I'm so excited that all of you joined me for this inaugural performance. Thank you so much. Let me find my clicker. There it is. Look at this. You can actually see the notes. It's like 1.5 arm lengths big. Look at that. I get to have fun with the presentations now. Let's get started. 3 ways for you to win 2019. I'm really excited to share this with you because I want to provide action, tactical steps that you can sink your teeth into, along with a higher level of strategy for you to increase how you serve, how you show up, what are the goals that you want to achieve. I'm also really excited that this is the first time I'm putting down that I'm a United States Marine Corps combat veteran on one of these slides. And you'll notice as we get into this presentation today, I'm going to be referencing another combat veteran and the effect on his life for me on my healing journey since I left the Marine Corps. Let's jump in. How to get the most out of our time together. Some of you have seen this before. We're going to go over it again. It's a new year, a little bit of a different take on it. Eliminate those distractions. Whatever it is, you are here. Honor yourself with that 100% full presence and engagement with this material that we're going to be talking about today. Take more notes than you think are necessary and come up with that marking mechanism in the margin. Maybe it's a question mark for you to be able to put something down in the chat roll, or a star if something tickles your fancy and you want to research it later on your own. This will help you move faster in your personal development journey as you are synthesizing and taking in all of this information from all of these different sources. Create a system for yourself to be able to reference those notes a little bit more efficiently. Be open and vulnerable. I'm going to be asking you some questions today that are going to challenge you. So really be open and vulnerable. You can put comments into the chat roll as we move on. Same thing with the questions. And please, if you have any questions, go ahead and put a couple question marks ahead of whatever your question is. That way it'll signal to my team, the lovely Valerie Olberding, that there's a question, and then she can get that over to me later in the presentation when we have time for questions. And challenge yourself. That's the final piece that I really want to emphasize. Challenge yourself. There's so many things going on in the world right now. Let's take this time right now to focus on what can we do? How can we grow? How can we serve at another level? The objective of today's presentation is to challenge you, because that's what I do. As a certified high-performance coach, as a Marine Corps veteran, I challenge you. And today it's to architect 2019 to be the best year of your life. Before we get into that, just a couple disclaimers. There is nothing to buy here today. I am not going to be schlepping anything or saying here's a product or any of that. Nothing to buy. In fact, if you want to throw your money at something to go like buy some tools or something else like that, go find another live cast, okay? That's not here, that's not right now. What I'm going to do is share with you ways that you can change your mindset, grow your perspective. And today, that's free. It's my gift. I want to help you really get going in 2019. At the end, there is going to be an opportunity if you have not opted in to receive my content or my notifications for additional live casts such as this one, then I'll give you the information at the end of this broadcast so you can opt in and more easily stay in touch with what I'm doing, how I'm serving, where I'm going live, what products are coming out. So I'm going to give you that opportunity at the end. But otherwise, there's nothing to buy here today. So let's roll up our sleeves and get to work. I want to tell you a story about another veteran. His name's Frankie. He grew up wealthy, the son of a business merchant. And he really had this charismatic presence around him and didn't really want for anything growing up. He was so charismatic, people would want him to learn, but he'd be busy making friends or exploring the world around him. And he was so charismatic, people were like, well, it's Frankie, it's okay. And the same thing with like chores and contributions within the community. He was a little bit of a party animal. As he grew up at about 20 years old, he enlisted in the military and went to combat. During that combat, his unit was completely decimated. And Frankie was held as a prisoner of war for a year. If you can imagine that. A year. When he was finally released, he returned back to his community and didn't really change anything. He went back to partying and back to just the way he was until he got called up to go serve in the military again. And a few days into that journey, he just had a complete transformation of his life, returned back home and faced a lot of criticism, faced a lot of accusations that he was a coward because he had changed his awareness of his involvement in warfare. In that process, though, he became a thought leader. And he dedicated his life to be in service of others, to help the homeless, to help the sick, to help the poor. And we're going to be talking about Frankie today. One of the questions, or one of the stories that I love about Frankie is a friend of his came up to him one day and he said, Frankie, if you knew that you died tomorrow, what would you do? And take a second. What would you do? If you knew that you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do? Would you be square with the world? Would you have reflected on your past and realized that you've lived a life of excellence? Would you be playing catch up for that bucket list of everything that there is to go do in this beautiful world? Would you be frantically getting on the phone or getting on a plane to go spend time with family or apologize to that person that you may have wronged or forgive that person that wronged you? What would you do if you knew that tomorrow was your last day? Do you want to know what Frankie said? He was a little bit of an environmentalist, and he just, without even thinking, without even blinking an eye, he said, I'd hoe my garden. The first time I heard about this story about Frankie was when I was about 10 years old, and my dad told me this story about Frankie. And this story, and the fact that he would hoe his garden, has really just transformed as I've gotten older. It took different levels of depth and interpretation to guide me in my life in that one sentence, I'd hoe my garden. And I'm going to share with you the 3 of the lenses in which this statement has so profoundly affected my life as we take a look for you for the 3 big wins for you to kick off 2019. And here's the 3 lenses. We're going to take a look at integrity, assessment, and some magic. And that's to have you hang out with me. I'm going to be giving some stuff away. In fact, if you are really active in the chat roll today, I'll be reviewing it with my team after today's live cast. And the person who had the most profound, influential, supportive, poignant questions or contributions to today's chat roll, I'm going to be sending you out a 1-hour VIP intensive invitation where you get online with me like this, and I've got my whiteboards here, and we'll fill them up. Whatever it is that you want to do with your life in 2019, contribute more than you might be used to, and you're going to be rewarded. Magic. I wonder what that one is. Let's jump in here. I love to start out with some quotes to inspire me of some of the world's highest performers. Here's a high performer. His name's Confucius. The strength of a nation derives from the integrity of the home. And this is so important Because we think about like the nation as this larger piece that has maybe its own mindset and its own interaction on the world stage. Some countries, including this one right now, we might not be really proud of the direction that our country's going. We might be concerned. We might have reservations. We might be really proud. However, when we take a look at the nation as a series of communities, and communities are a series of neighborhoods, and neighborhoods are a series of homes, and we commit to the integrity of our home, we can even dial that in a little bit further of our personal integrity, the integrity that we have with our loved ones within our home. And what are we doing there to build up that home, to build up that neighborhood, to build up that community, to build up that country? And now more than ever with use of technology, like how you are seeing me here right now. I love this because I get to like zoom in right now. How you are seeing me here right now. We have the opportunity to come together as a global community, the integrity of our global community. And in fact, I believe that the safety and the health of the world, it demands it. It requires that we come together. So Confucius really had this dialed in a few hundred years ago. One person that I got to see in 2018 is Les Brown. Honor your commitments with integrity. Les Brown, a black man who started in personal development in the 60s. Cannot even imagine what he faced to build up and create a legacy of service to where I got to see him a few months ago on the stage here in Phoenix. This man, absolutely amazing. And the attacks on him and the slander that came towards him because of the color of his skin, the background of his life, health issues, just you name it. And he says, honor your commitments with integrity. And as I was preparing for today, this one was especially impactful to me. I have failed on this. I did not honor my commitments to my former wife. I was unfaithful. I did not honor the commitments to my kids as their father. The great thing is whether you turn the calendar to a new month, a new week, a new day, or a new year, you have a new opportunity to do exactly what Les Brown says, to honor those commitments. What has been in the past, you can leave it in the past. You can learn from it and allow it to help you grow towards your future. And that's my dream for you. That's my dream. That wherever you are in your life right now, you don't hold yourself in judgment from your past. You assess and you learn from it so that you can honor your commitments moving forward. So with integrity, we have these commitments, and how it comes down to this fundamental question within human history of how to solve this question of feast or famine. And we can take a look at other predators, because humans are predators. We can take a look at the wolf, who on average eats several pounds of meat per day. However, the wolf is not out there getting meat every day. The wolf will kill an animal and binge, sometimes 20 pounds of meat in one day. And anthropologists believe that our human ancestors were faced with a very similar challenge. Whether it's going out and gathering berries and binging on those, or you take down a woolly mammoth and it's feast time, fire up the barbecue. We're gonna eat well tonight and maybe tomorrow and maybe the next day, and then we'll throw the rest in the fridge? No. We have to eat it now and fuel our bodies now. So how did that work? Well, anthropologists believe that there became a bit of a schedule. Bill, you're gonna go pick berries today. Bob, you're gonna pick berries tomorrow. Sue, you're gonna go get the woolly mammoth the following day. And they started divvying out the labor within these small little bands. Originally maybe 6 to 8 people, growing up to about 10 to 15 people. They scheduled that work. And this was when it was really based on that survival aspect of being able to have the food, having the drinkable water, having the shelter, making some semblance of clothing. And what's amazing is even as early as 40,000 years ago, we're finding evidence of this art, which means because they were able to schedule, they were able to achieve more in their life. Isn't that remarkable? I know growing up, I think back to the cavemen, and that every day was a struggle for survival. Yet as we see some of these artifacts, these carvings, these paintings on cave walls, we know that they had built up enough of a base of survival that some people were able to create art. They wanted to experience more. So how does this tie in for you, for your schedule, for a feast and famine cycle in these different areas of your life? Because maybe it's not food. We have the ability to zip down to the grocery store and buy whatever it is that we want to eat for the most part. So there's other areas in your life that this may be showing up. For some of you, it might be sleep or recovery. It might be that food. It might be physical activity or health or relationships or your career and mission. Whatever it is, balancing it out and scheduling those items for you to attend to, for you to enroll the assistance from other people, for you to ask your team to carry out specific aspects of projects within your career, within your workplace. Or maybe it's like a chores list within the home that you have. Whatever that is, you seek to achieve that balance within those areas so you're not in this feast and famine cycle. One of the struggles that I had, and I didn't realize until I got out of the military, was you got paid on the 1st and the 15th. It didn't matter if you worked 100 hours a week. It didn't matter if you were on vacation. You got paid the same on the 1st and the 15th. You spent all your money, that's okay. All you gotta do is limp forward until the 1st or the 15th, and poof, there's more money. Being in business on my own, I've gone through some of these feast and famine cycles, understanding how to work with sales, how to work with potential clients while managing my sleep and recovery, while still getting out in this beautiful city that we live in, Phoenix, Arizona. Did you know it's like 46 degrees out here right now? I think it was last week, it was almost the same temperature in Great Falls, Montana as it was in Phoenix. Whew. Might have to go a little further south next winter. So I've learned how to work out those balance points. As Val has been in college, busting her booty to get really great grades so she can get accepted to the med school of her choice, we had to really take a look at how were we going to balance her study schedule, my work schedule, and our little bit of downtime. Oh, and her work schedule and we had like a bunch of like variables going on. So we had to take a look at how do we balance out that feast and famine cycle? And we scheduled it. And was this easy? Was it simple? No, no. Was it worth it? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely worth it. Let me share another quote with you. Ralph Waldo Emerson, nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Because here's the challenge. How many of you have scheduled something out? You get it perfect. You get the nice planner. Maybe some of you have the high performance planner from Brendan. You get the nice journal. You get like the nice whiteboard. You get all of these tools and you get it all scheduled out. And you don't maintain your own personal integrity to see that schedule through. Guilty. That's me. So that consistency of habit to safeguard your integrity with your schedule. So here's my challenge for you for this lens. Advance your life, safeguard your integrity. And that's going to come through this tactic of architecting. Not planning out, not scheduling. I want you to take this word to another level. Architect your ideal day, week, month, quarter, year. You could go out to 2 or 3 years. You might go out to 5. Many of you know that Val and I have a goal of sailing around the world. That goal right now isn't in that architect stage. It's more than a dream. It's closer to us than a dream because we got sailing certified in 2018. So it's not like this distant, nebulous, like unknown. We don't have exactly what port we're gonna leave out of or what boat we're gonna take off from. So that's a little bit too distant. It's a little bit out past that 5-year mark. So you're looking at 5 years, maybe 3 years and in for how you can architect that. And here's an approach that I utilized that just changed my life. I've been utilizing this for 3 months now. So I took a notebook paper and I wrote down, what do I want to have every single day? And if it's gonna happen more than once per day, I created a marking system for that. So here's 3 excerpts from my schedule: meditation, eating, and exercise. And because this is the frame of the day, I wrote D2. My goal, my schedule, my commitment is to meditate 2 times per day. Day, twice. Eating. I'll get carried away, I'll get focused, I'll get forgetful. I schedule this. Eating 3 times per day. This also works out well that if one of your goals is to change your health, for you to be in the best health this year, maybe this is the time for you to stop snacking. Maybe this is the time for you to say no to soda, no to the drive-thru, no to the fast food. So when you put down D3, that means you don't go for the chips in between. You could also put snack here if you wanted. You could put meals D3 and you could put snack D2. Maybe you know your body and you know that you want a little snack between breakfast and lunch. And maybe you want a little snack between lunch and dinner. That's fine. You get to architect your ideal day. So what's this goofy thing over here, Paul? Exercise, D1W6. Different times of my life, I look at exercising every day, so that's the D1, 1 time per day. And sometimes I look at doing it 6 times per week. So that way I have a rest day. So that's the W6, weekly, 6 times. So let's move on to the week. And if you guys want, why don't you start putting in some of the things that you are looking forward to for your ideal day? Maybe that's gonna inspire, spark somebody else's interest or an idea for them. And when we circulate this within our community, we all get to build. We all get to learn and grow faster. So blow up that chat roll. What is part of your ideal day? And use this marking system. How many times per day is that important for you to do? And this is an excerpt. The entire page, like I would have to flip this TV sideways to maybe get it to fit on the whole thing. So these are 3 of the things from my ideal day. Let's take a look at my ideal week. Within my ideal week, I am gonna bring in that exercise piece. Depending on what week it is, I'm either gonna do it daily or I'm gonna take a look at doing it that 6 times per week. I also am still healing. 15 years in the Marine Corps took a real significant toll on my body and my mind. So one of the things that I do to continue that healing journey is a chiropractic adjustment, 1 time per week, W1. Do you feel this? Do you see how this is? This isn't that I thought that this was nice or I knew that this was important to me, so I'll get around to scheduling it. No, I started defining within my week that is going to support me the most, that is going to advance me towards my goals the quickest. What are those pieces that I want to have? And that chiropractic adjustment is one of them. The next piece comes in from the business side of the house, client outreach. I figured out I wanted to create 1-hour blocks to have client outreach. I didn't want to go through a famine cycle again because I hadn't been loading up potential clients, more offers for people to join and come and become a part of our beautiful community. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do 8 1-hour blocks per week. Client outreach, W8. Now that might be different for you. You might want to structure something in like a 2, 3, or 4-hour block. For me, this was a little bit easier just to break it into a 1-hour block. And I'll talk through that a little bit here in a minute. Let's move on to month. Let me see those comments. What are you guys loving to do for your ideal week? Let's take a look at the month. Within my month, VIP time. V is for Valerie, I is for Izzy, my service dog, and P is for me, Paul. And together we make up Team VIP. And it is so crucial for me to really schedule and set aside time that we get away. We stop everything and we get away for a day or two. As we move faster, we are putting more time together in place. Because when we are busy, there's sometimes that in this past semester with Val studying, we would be talking and catching up on each other while we are cooking dinner. And by the time we got done with dinner, because of the different requirements between studying and my work, we're back to work. Not my ideal way that I wanted to do it. So what we did was we said, you know what, that might be the requirement for the workload of Val's studying, for the workload of growing my business. So that's where we said, you know what, we are setting aside VIP time 1 time per month. We also have it 1 time per week. And we also make a point of coming together for dinner. And if you're a person who still has your technology on to where you are doing this instead of this with your loved one at dinner, stop. Stop it. That electronic leash can wait. Spend that time. Have that interaction. And by the way, that is supported by a ton of neuroscience. Turn off the technology. It will be okay. And if you're really, really that focused, inhale your food and then get back to work. All right? So we set up that time. I also have my project reviews that I do 1 time per month. And what do you think? Got the new haircut. What do you think? Is it looking good? Got it trimmed up a little bit. It was getting a little wild and crazy, a little too crazy. So we got it trimmed up. I schedule myself for a haircut twice per month. Part of that is because of this right here. I don't want to be looking shaggy, going live with you all. I want to be looking good, looking professional, ready to serve, ready to go. So I schedule those haircuts twice per month. Let's take a look out at that quarter. My detailed planning and reviewing cycle operates on a quarterly basis. And this year, I'm going to really challenge myself to go visit my kids 1 time per quarter or have them come here and visit. Not quite sure how that's going to work. It's not that I have like the money in the account ready to like buy these tickets either. And that's what I want you to understand. You don't limit your future dreams and aspirations by your current circumstances, knowledge, abilities. You set this out. You set this out as that goal, that aspiration, and then you grow. You bust your hump. You get going and you earn it. And it starts with defining what is it that you want? What is that ideal schedule? I want to go see my kids. It's a bit of a challenge. It takes about 24 or 26 hours with the most efficient routes from Phoenix to get to Okinawa, Japan. So creating the time abundance, creating the financial abundance, creating the relationship abundance, creating these abundances in all areas of my life so that I can go see my kids. And I'm going to push myself this year. Don't have a real solid idea of how all of that's going to work out. That's okay. I'm scheduling it. And then I can bring my focus towards it as I am going out and winning my dreams today. Well, and this quarter, and this year. Yearly. Vacation with Val. So you'll see a Y6 here. This has been a project that we've been growing since I moved from Montana down here to Arizona for us to start our life together and our home together. We started out going on a vacation once per quarter, and we absolutely loved how that recharged us. It helped us recover from the stresses of the other areas in which we were getting pulled. So now we're looking at continuing a tradition that we had from last year of once in a 60-day block, we get out of town or we have a little staycation. Sometimes when we were really busy, I think we went to the museum one time. We just hung out at the museum for the day. So whatever that looks like, vacation with Val, Y6. I'm doing that 6 times this year. And then a 1-week vacation twice this year. This is a real challenge. When I was preparing for this, I looked at that off my notes and I put it on the slide and I'm just like, have you ever felt that way? Where you see a goal that you have, this dream that you want to accomplish, and it takes your breath away. Or maybe it gets you that little squirm inside. Take a breath, move past that squirm. There's beauty on the other side. There is your dream on the other side. So when I put this down that I wanted to have 2 weeks of vacation in a year, no idea how to do it. Remember, this is your ideal year. This is what we're going to set as that goal as we're moving towards it. I don't let my current knowledge, skills, abilities, finances, relationship, business commitments, I don't let any of that limit what I want as my ideal year. So within this space, what I did was I managed my calendar electronically. And I created these regular appointments. So my 8 hours of client outreach, I created 8 one-hour blocks, stacked them all at the same time on Monday morning. And then on Sunday, when I conduct my weekly review, I look across my week. Where do I have commitments with my clients for calls or outreach or meetings? And then I just drag and drop these one-hour blocks across my calendar. Done. As I plan my quarters, I have some of those requirements. I set that up at the beginning of the quarter. As I'm looking into my quarter, I drag it and I drop it. That simple. If you like to manage your calendar like old school and you're going to write it out by hand, one fun exercise you can do is put these different appointments and commitments onto Post-it notes. Maybe you get yourself a whiteboard or just on your table and you just slap it down and you move stuff around and you architect your schedule. You're not looking 1 day or maybe 2 days out. You're looking out across the 7 days, which are part of a month, which is part of that quarter, which is part of that year. So you just grab the Post-it notes, plug and play, move it around, and this is what is going to help you achieve this. So let's go back to Frankie here. Around integrity, this is that first lens. Frankie said, you know, if I knew that I was going to die tomorrow, I'd hoe my garden. So one of the initial lenses for me of Frankie's wisdom was you follow through on your commitments. And it's not a matter of getting over the bar or going through the motions or getting through it. No, I want you to follow through on your commitments with excellence. Instead of getting over that bar, I want you to repurpose that bar to a rung of a ladder that will help you reach new heights, those new goals, that new level of engagement within your relationships. I want you to do it with excellence, my friends, because you have earned that. You are here. You are focused on that more. Can you tell I'm really excited about this? Honor that schedule. Honor those commitments. Follow through on them with excellence. All right, integrity. Let's move on to assessment. This is a scientist and a politician. He's involved in politics, I believe in Chile, Fernando Flores. I made my own assessment of my life and I began to live it. You do not need to live to the randomness of purpose in your life. You can define it. And that's what we call from the high performance work, living from and into our best selves, living from and into our best relationships. You define it and you start moving towards it. And you find ways to assess to most efficiently achieve and complete that journey. Dr. Wayne Dyer, real magic in relationships means an absence of judgment of others. And for me, this took one step further for me to step away from judging others. And it was to stop judging myself. This wasn't to give myself a get out of jail free card for some of the things that I've said or done or impacted or not done in my past. It was to forgive myself, to really start looking at what I can do to learn from my past instead of continuing to run away from it, instead of continuing to lament it, instead of continuing to be afraid of it. It was to release that judgment of the things that I've done, recognize that I'm learning and growing. And now when I get to interact with other people, it's a lot cleaner. I'm not judging them. In fact, with my one-on-one clients, we have a commitment on that call that there is no judgment from them to me, from me to them, or them to themselves. When they start judging themselves, and I do my best to stay clean on my end of that bargain as well. Judgment-free. The way I want you to think about judgment, because it has a lot of different it can be heavy. It can be a heavy word. So the way I'm using it is not in terms of like a judge in a court. I'm not using it as a way to discern. That's where I want to break out like discernment for assessment and not judgment towards others. If you find yourself saying should, you're in judgment. If you find yourself saying, well, that happened, well, now you're moving into discernment. I literally want you to think about this as computer-based input, almost emotionless. You can be super happy around it. You're not going to be lamenting or any of those fear-based emotions, because that moves us into this judgment, this negative use of the word judgment, okay? So that just a frame for the definitions there. And what I want you to do, real quick, where can I set this? New studio, new setup. All right, do you like the pointer finger? This is the board, the new TV is so big, I have to use a pointer to get all the way over to the other side of the screen. Pretty cool, right? And yes, it's a pointer finger, Gail. I know it might have looked like a different finger was pointing. It's the pointer finger. Okay, here we go. I want you to make a fist. Now squeeze. Stay with me. Squeeze tighter. Squeeze harder. I'm going to do this with you. Squeeze. Tighter. Harder. Keep squeezing. Keep going. Squeeze. Keep going. Breathe. Now I want you to flex this part of your arm. Squeeze. You can see. Look at how tight that is. Oh, doesn't feel good. Keep going. I want you to squeeze. Go harder. Flex that bicep now too. Flex your shoulder. Flex it. Flex it. Flex it. Flex it. Flex it. Flex it. Keep it going. Squeeze harder. Take another breath. Now squeeze harder. Okay, now don't do this yet. I want you to keep squeezing. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do on the count of 3. Don't do it yet. I'll tell you when. When I tell you to, I want you to take your hand. I want you to throw it open as wide as you can. Okay, not yet. Squeeze. Take another breath. Squeeze even tighter. Oh, man. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Open. Ah. Ouch. Look at that. I've got like the fingernail grooves in my hand. You can see the blood trying to come back in. Now imagine for a second, like, why did we do that, Paul? What are those things that you've been hanging on to? I call it my baggage of BS. That sea bag of judgment that you've been hanging on to for months, years, or decades. And you've been squeezing and hanging on to that, and you've been just like dragging it along your journey, or maybe you've been like slumping it over your shoulder awkwardly, because this isn't like a nice backpacking like backpack. This is just this nasty like pillowcase of stuff just shoved into it, and you just sling it around. That's the judgment. And when you let go of it, it may hurt initially. It may hurt initially. That was for a minute or so. If you've been hanging on to things for years or even decades, it may hurt. But here's why I want you to go through that process of letting go of that judgment, letting go of that which no longer serves you. You assess yourself to move forward faster. You let go of the judgment and you move into a place of assessment. So here's the challenge. Stay free from judgment and assess yourself to move forward faster. And here's the tactics that I want you to utilize for that. It's called the 5 R's of assessment. Starting at the top, it's recognize, rejoice, reset, research, re-engage. And then it goes into a cycle from there. And let's break these down a little bit. Recognize is when you observe an event or an interaction, a situation, a relationship, and you take a look, was that aligned with my best self? Was that aligned with how I'm assessing my life and living into it? Or was it misaligned? Yes or no? You recognize that. If you do this, you are already functioning at such a higher level than so many other people out there. Take time to slow down and see how you are showing up. Feel how you are showing up in this world. Listening to others at a deeper level. Interacting with them with these full levels of presence and engagement. How did you show up? You observe that. And let's say that you missed. Let's say that wasn't aligned. I want you to rejoice. Not in what you did, rather that you recognized that you did something. You're not rejoicing in the event, you're rejoicing in your recognition. And the reason why this is so important is because if you're facing some things from your past that you may not be proud of, I want you to rejoice that you are taking the time to reflect and recognize that that was then. This is now. And because you're going through this process, you are moving forward. So be kind to yourself in this process. This will help you stay free from the judgment and stay in that assessment place. So rejoice in the fact that you recognized. Let's say that you were doing wonderfully with yourself and you took time to recognize that. The rejoice might come a little bit easier, right? So either way, this tool works either way. And that's why I want to use it, because you can build a habit with this. Whether things are going sideways or things are going amazingly, you take time to intentionally congratulate yourself on your recognition. And then you reset. You first seek to learn. And then from what you've learned, create 3 to 5 options of how you can move forward. So if you've missed, 3 to 5 options to get back on track. If you've been crushing it, if you've been achieving, if you've been serving, if you've been leading, 3 to 5 options. How can you extend it? How can you advance it? How can you mix things up? Who can you call and prank? Who can you call and reward? What are those things? 3 to 5 options. Because what I don't want for you in this year of 2019 is to ever say, well, I did that because it was my only choice. Really? Was it your only choice? Or were you being lazy? And I say that with all respect, because I've been there. There's some days that I'm still there. And I use that language as a little trigger of, well, that's my only choice. What? No, stop. Show me the 3 to 5 options that you generated to create that one choice that you chose. If you only have one choice, it's not a choice. So break free from the cliches this year. You're going to take time to reset, learning what you can from that event that you recognize, that you took time to rejoice in your recognition, and then create 3 to 5 options about how you want to move forward. With those 3 to 5 options, explore how those different options will bring you closer to your goal. Because some of them may take you on a little wild goose chase to chase shiny squirrels and butterflies. It may take you further away from your goals. So you're going to research and treat it like a little bit of a choose your own adventure. Did you guys read those choose your own adventure books? You've come to a cliff and a gorge. If you'd like to cross the gorge via the rope bridge, turn to page 35. If you want to jump down into the river below, turn to page 46. And then you turn and, well, for me, as a kid reading those books, I would put my finger in those different decisions so I could peek and take a look at, well, what's down that trail of decision making? What's down that event? If I jump into the river, are there going to be alligators? Well, let's take a look. And that's part of this research phase, is take a look at how those different options may play out. Now be careful with this one, because you might start playing the what if game. And if that's you, don't stop, you're good. And if it's really starting to get carried away, one of the ways that we would finish the what if game in the Marine Corps is we'd say, what if grasshoppers carried machine guns? Does anybody have the answer to that one? Birds wouldn't mess with them. So if you find yourself going down this rabbit hole of what ifs, bring it to a swift end with something ridiculous like, what if grasshoppers carried machine guns? Birds wouldn't mess with them. And then that will bring you back to focus your research on those different options. After you've done that research, I want you to re-engage. Get back in the game that we call life. Implement one of those options that you researched. Now, it may be a piece that you implement one, and another one's going to come around next. What we want to do is get some momentum going with one event. This whole concept of multitasking is a great marketing scheme for people selling these little devices. And we do this while we walk on the sidewalks, while we're riding on the light rail, while we are driving. Multitasking. No. The accurate term is dividing your attention. You get to focus on one thing at a time. And then you divide your attention to take in other pieces of input. So you're going to implement one of those options that you've researched. So let's come back to Frankie's take on this. And as I've grown and learned through this lens, what would you do if you were going to die tomorrow? I'd hoe my garden. Because weeds don't mean that you're a bad farmer. It means that in your process of growing something, something else might come up that you might not want. But in that consistent practice of going through and assessing, oh, there's a weed. I don't want there to be a weed there. What are the options I can have? Well, I can pluck it, I can cut it, I can trim it, I can hoe it. Like, you create those options and you just get rid of it. It doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean you're worthless. It doesn't mean you're a bad farmer. It means that a weed is growing in your garden. Treat it with that level of discernment, that assessment. And you don't have to get all upset and start calling the weed names. It's kind of comical. Val got Alexa, this little hockey puck thing that plays music and talks to you. And I think listens to your every conversation. I don't know, I'm a little wigged out by it. When we first got it, we started telling Alexa, like, play some music, play it a little bit louder, play it a little bit softer. And Alexa wouldn't listen. And Val and I both caught each other starting to raise our voice and be cross with Alexa. You remember that, babe? It's a computer. It doesn't care. So recognize, you don't have to yell at the weeds in your life. You don't have to get angry with the weeds in your life. And because weeds are showing up in your life, it doesn't make you a bad farmer. It's reality. It's part of this experience of life. All right. You can do magic. You can do anything you desire. Magic. How to move forward when you're stuck. Whether you're stuck on implementing your schedule, committing to that project, completing that task, getting started, wherever that is, how to move forward when you're stuck. You celebrate your wins. This is one of the top things that my one-on-one clients has reported that have changed their lives the most, is celebrating their wins. And this is what it looks like. You start off with your observation of you did something. And I really want you to think about this as you learned something. Okay? We don't use words like, it was, brushing my teeth. It's just a little thing. No, that's pretty important. Because if you didn't brush your teeth every day, 2 or 3 times a day, and you get 3 or 4 months down the road of being a yuck mouth, and you have that job interview, you have that public speaking gig that you've been working so diligently towards, you have a live cast on January 1st so that you can see your beautiful online community, right? And you don't take time for that little task of brushing your teeth every day, there is no amount of brushing my teeth 10 minutes prior to this live cast that's going to get those whites pearly. That worked, right? Those pearly whites? Yeah, my white's pearly. My pearly whites. Pearlier, whiter. That consistent practice of brushing your teeth. That consistent practice of making your bed, living in a clean space, taking care of your body, eating healthy food, getting rest. Do you see how this ties back into our schedule of that ideal day? So you observe it and you don't dismiss it. You don't demean it. You don't disregard it. You don't disrespect it by saying it's little. It's no big deal. It's small. You call that win for what it is. It's foundational. It is fundamental. It is consistent. It is part of my maintenance activities. You do not use language that diminishes that win. So you observe it, you have the observation around the win, and then you move into the celebration of the win. This does not mean throwing yourself confetti every time or giving yourself a steak dinner. Because first of all, confetti gets messy. Second of all, steak dinners get expensive. Third of all, if you just got tired and mixed up and sort of like eating little chunks of paper and plastic, gross. And if you started throwing little pieces of steak, no, absolutely not. I'm from Montana. That's sacrilege. That's blasphemy. You don't do that with a good steak. So your celebration can literally be you taking time to have some self-talk. And I encourage you to do this out loud. So let me think. What have we had as a win this morning? Val and I got rid of the green machine. The Suburban is gone. It's dead to us. I'm glad, because it was about to be dead with us. And we bought a new car last night. So this morning, Val and I jumped on a Zoom call with Mom and Dad, so that way we could show them the new car. Took a quick drive on the interstate so we could actually see our car and drive it in daylight. And yeah, so that's my win. And if I celebrate that, I'm going to talk to myself in the I think it's the third person, second person, whatever that is. We'll grammar good later. GoWin. You did it, man. You had a vehicle that served you and you recognized it was no longer safe to drive. And you've really, really been working diligently in your business, creating these abundances in your life. And with your lady, you got to go as a culmination of the research and looking and exploring different opportunities and deals. You found the car that's going to serve your family for the next several years. Way to go, man. That was the most masterful you've ever made a large purchase that way. You did it with collaboration and in working with Val. Way to go. You kept things light with the salesman and the finance manager and the other guy. And you kept things light. You kept things fun. I'm proud of you, GoWin. Way to go. Keep that up. Are you smiling too? That was my win. Do you feel how this can be contagious? I hope you're smiling. So that's the power of self-talk. Closing your eyes. That might have been a minute or so. I don't know. My eyes are closed. I didn't look at the timer. You can develop a spectrum of opportunities for you to celebrate your wins. Because sometimes it might be to throw off all your clothes and run around your cattle ranch in Central Texas naked. That's going out for you, Rosemary. Not because she does that, but she has a cattle ranch. And if I was going to celebrate, I'd probably rip my clothes off and go run around with the cows. Well, that works for a cattle ranch in the middle of Central Texas. That might not work in the middle of downtown Phoenix. That might not work in some of these other societal norms that we have. So you develop a spectrum so that way whenever you observe that you have won, you move into the celebration. And with that celebration, it creates momentum. And with that momentum, you can have the acceleration towards your goals, towards your dreams. And what I want you to do is with laser-like focus, direct that momentum. And I want you to say after that celebration that so for me, I'm going to take that momentum and direct it towards my business. Floodlight. Floodlight. I want you to get down to laser-like precision. I'm going to work on the marketing for my business. Okay. I'm going to get to work on Facebook ads. Ooh, now we're at a pin light. I'm going to hone in on my demographics for my target market that I can send better demographical ads within Facebook to these people so I can serve them better. Laser. When you do that, commit to it, get in the game, go do it. And when it's done, observe your win, celebrate your win, accelerate your win, and you stay in this cycle. And there's a lot of talk about being in like the pity pool, the pity party, right? And you get into these downward spirals. Well, you can use a similar technique to spiral upwards. So use this framework around your wins, the observation, celebration, and acceleration of your wins. So here's the challenge. Create momentum to achieve your goals and win your dreams. And here's a tactic for you to do that. It's this thing that I call tomorrow's habit today. So this is something for me that I've recently implemented again in my life. Journaling. How many of you know that journaling is wonderful for your life, and yet you sometimes fall out of the habit? So I came up with this thing of tomorrow's habit today, where I want you to think about, so I brought this back for journaling on December 30th. So I said, because I want December 31st to be day 2 of journaling, I want today to be day 1. So I'm connecting my actions to my future because I want to set a high score. I'm kind of competitive that way. I want to see how many days in a row I can journal. And I want to keep that going and not break that chain. I think in 2018, it was somewhere around 60 or 70 days in a row that I had. And then I fell off. That consistency of habit can be achieved by thinking about tomorrow's habit today. And I literally want you to say that. Tomorrow's habit today is day 4 of exercising. Tomorrow's habit today is day 10 of no coffee. That's right, I went there. I've been about a month without coffee. I've been drinking green tea, so I got a little itty bitty bit of caffeine in my life. I'm almost a month into no coffee. And go figure, I'm sleeping better. It doesn't help that I was drinking like, what was that, like a half gallon of coffee, babe? It was a bunch, okay? So whatever that is for you, if it's gonna be to stay away from the most glorious invention of food ever crafted, curly fries. It's been a couple years since I've had curly fries. I miss them. So I think about that tomorrow's habit today. Get yourself a calendar. Get one free from the bank or the hardware store or wherever it is that they just give away free calendars, and get yourself a big old fat red marker and cross it off each day that you keep it going. Create a chain of events so that way you can set your high score. And then when you do that, I want you to observe it for what it is. You're winning. You're setting up that tally count. You're setting that high score for your goals, and call it a win. And then you have the observation, celebration, and acceleration in your life around that win. So what would Frankie say about this? If you were gonna die tomorrow, what would you do, Frankie? I'd hoe my garden. Really? And this has been the later part of my life, this lens. That you live your life square to where you recognize that life is a series of celebrations. Life is a series of learning events. Life is a series of wins. And if you live your life like that, that could be the most fun thing that you could possibly do if you knew you were gonna die tomorrow. And the great thing is, none of us know. None of us know. I've lost some friends over the years with the different combat operations that we've had. And one of the frustrations that I have is, well, he was taken from us too soon. An older person, maybe they've died. Well, he lived a very long life. At the end of the day, we don't know when is our last day. Unless you got that crystal ball that tells you when it is your last day, which in that case, may I borrow it? Because mine has a crack in it and the warranty's expired. And I'm gonna get into some sports games, betting, and make a lot of money. So let me borrow that crystal ball. For the rest of us, we don't know. So you live your life as a consistent celebration. Because it is. And if it's not, you can let go of that from the past. And you can architect it to be that celebration in the future. So let's take a look at everything we've talked about. The objective from today was to challenge you to architect 2019 to be the best year of your life. And we've got some challenges and some tactics that I've shared with you today for you to do just that. Your integrity challenge is advance your life, safeguard your integrity. And the tactics behind that is that architect your ideal day, week, month, quarter, maybe even go out to 2 or 3 years if you wanted to. And that's where we just use the marking system of D1, D3 for my meals. I'm going to eat 3 times per day, so daily 3 times. Q1, Y6 for my vacations with Val. Okay, architect your ideal day, and then use some post-it notes if you're managing your schedule by hand, or create those appointments and then just drag and drop them on your calendar if you use an electronic calendar system. Here's your assessment challenge. Stay free from judgment. Do you remember? It hurts. It might hurt to let go. But now how good does your hand feel? You may still have some imprints from your fingernails. You may still be a little tense. That's all right. Keep flexing, keep moving. You've let go of that judgment. And as you continue to move forward in your future, it'll hurt less. Stay free from judgment. Assess yourself to move forward faster. Let go of that which no longer serves you. And the tactics behind that: recognize, rejoice, reset, research, re-engage. Those 5 R's. Stay in that cycle. If you do that, whether you're on the rails or off the rails, moving towards your goals or moving further away, if you can take time to follow this framework, you can do so, you can move your life forward faster because you're not going into judgment. Your celebrating your wins challenge is create momentum to achieve your goals and win your dreams. And the tactics behind that is that tomorrow's habit today framework. Get that big red fat marker and cross it off each day that you successfully put up another tally count towards your high score of consistent action for whatever goal that is for you. And you can use that observation, celebration, acceleration framework as well. So now what about all this stuff, right? So go ahead and set your pen down, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to imagine for a second, like doing this, committing yourself to this work, staying free from assessments, scheduling those things that are so important to you, architecting your day, celebrating your life. Imagine how this is going to affect yourself, how you're going to show up in our beautiful world differently, how that's going to impact your family and your loved ones. You bring it into your career, your mission, and you have a team there. How that's going to affect them in a different way. And then when you do that, they're going to go and do it with their families and their team members, and your entire community is going to grow. And remember, like Confucius said, we have that household of integrity, helps out that nation. So with your changes today, with you committing to having 2019 be the best year ever, we can literally change the world. There's 7 on the call plus me, that's 8 people. If we went and did this to 3 people today, you found 3 people to call, interact with. Like they might be doing this on the sidewalk as you're walking, that's okay. You're going to impact their life somehow. You're going to be celebrating your life, and it's going to spread. That's my dream. All right, go ahead and open your eyes. Some of you might be wondering, well, who's Frankie? Francis of Assisi. He's a saint within the Catholic Church, and even within Protestant Christianity, he's highly revered. Patron saint of animals, ecology, and he lived in around 1181 he was born. It was 81 or 82, and he died in 1226. He was combat veteran who created a movement and influenced people, even his enemies. He was able to go speak to a sultan in the middle of a combat zone and be received and not summarily killed as he was inside that camp of his enemy. And this is really important for me because Francis, along with some other people in that time frame in medieval Europe, were able to come back from the atrocities of war and change Europe. It's what led to the Renaissance. It's what led to Europe being ripped out of the Dark Ages. And it's my dream and my hope that I'm able to do that with you here, along with my fellow veterans, that we can all come together to create peace in our world, where we no longer have combat, we have communication. And that's my dream for 2019. And thank you so much for being here as I've shared these 3 ways for you to win your 2019. So let's stay connected. You can find me on the new website, paulgowin.com. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, GoWin.Today. And if you're not opted in to stay in tune with what I have for my email sequences, my blogs, and announcements for other events like this one, go to bit.ly/PG opt-in. That's PG for Paul Gowin, opt-in, because you're going to opt in to my list. bit.ly/PG opt-in. So what's next? Well, you beautiful people, I want you to go out and win your dreams today. All right, I think we've got a little bit of time for some questions. Do we have questions coming in, babe? Does anybody have any questions? If you've got a question, go ahead and I'm going to grab a drink of water. You type in the question, and we've got about 10 more minutes, and we can wrap this up. If you're going to take off now, thank you so much for joining me. And if you've got a question, go ahead and stay on the line, and I'll do my best to answer that. I'm going to grab some water real quick. Oh, Linda, what are you focusing on for 2019? Thank you so much for that question. Linda and I have had, I think, basically like 2 calls per week every week for the last 2 years. It's probably averaged out to maybe even a little bit more than that. And thank you so much for that question. This was something that Linda and I were talking about on one of our calls recently. My 3 places that I'm focusing on this next year is the growth of my business, the growth of my relationship with Val, and the growth of my relationship with my kids and former wife. Within my business, I have some specific pieces that I have in there that I want to grow. And then you've seen some of the pieces of how I want to have those additional vacations and time with Val, and then those additional opportunities for me to get over to Okinawa and change how I am as a father with my kids. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Linda. That was a great question. Anybody else? How are you liking the new setup? I think the lights, we're pretty close on the lights. We've got some glare. We've got the big TV. This thing's huge. I get to use my little pink pointer finger now. Really excited. Thanks, Linda. My buddy Ben Liu created that. And for any of the musicians, you may see it resembles a treble clef. Music's such a huge part of my life. My first job in the Marine Corps was as part of the band, playing my saxophone. And my buddy Ben was a professional violinist and piano player before he became a rocket scientist and a marketer and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, so he created that for me. Oh, wonderful, good. I'm really glad that you got to see that. Awesome, awesome. Any other questions? I'm gonna grab some more water. Boy, that was fun. All right, last call, and we're gonna wrap it up. All right, everyone, that concludes our time today. Thank you so much for joining me. Have an amazing new year. And do me a favor, whatever you loved the most from today's presentation, would you just put a little note in the chat roll about what you loved the most? And it's okay if you put loved in all caps like you're yelling, because I want to know what you loved the most about this training today. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you all, and I look forward to seeing you all in the future. See you guys.